Hi and welcome to Medicine Past, Present and Future. My name's Dr. Nick and I'm the past.
And my name's Dr. Isabelle and I'm the future.
And together we're the present. Now, Dr. Isabelle, this might sound a slightly odd question, but when did you last go a whole day without coffee?
Oh God, you're taking me back, Dr. Nick. Maybe when I was 14 or 15.
And what's your preferred tipple?
Latte in the morning and a short macchiato after lunch. So the funny thing is, none of us start out liking caffeine. In fact, kids pretty much hate the taste, and yet somewhere along the line, 2/3 of Australian adults will consume at least one caffeinated beverage a day.
So let's talk caffeine, Dr. Isabelle. What actually is it?
Well, caffeine is a methylxanthine alkaloid that induces a reversible inhibition of the adenosine receptors.
In English?
Caffeine interferes with chemicals in your brain that cause drowsiness, making you feel more awake.
No, thank you. Now, legend has it that tea was first discovered by the Chinese over 5,000 years ago. But coffee wasn't first used commercially till about the 15th century in the Middle East. And it's become so popular that we now consume worldwide about 10 million tonnes of coffee every year. And Dr. Isabelle, which countries do you think are the top coffee drinkers?
Oh, I would say maybe Brazil or Italy. The US with all their Starbucks and everything.
Really good suggestions, but actually it's countries like the Netherlands, Norway, Finland and Sweden. Brazil and Italy aren't even in the top 10.
What about Australia?
Oh, we're way down the list.
Now, most of us get our caffeine from coffee, tea or caffeinated soft drinks such as cola. The average cup of coffee has about 100 milligrams of caffeine in it, a cup of tea about half of that, and a large cola drink is about the same as a cup of tea.
So is it possible to overdose on caffeine?
Well, you can overdose on pretty much anything, Dr. Nick, if you try hard enough, even water. But to overdose on caffeine, you'd probably have to drink about 50 cups of strong coffee in quick succession to do any real damage.
OK, so then what about addiction?
Again, depends a little bit on how you define addiction. Most people would be familiar with a craving for caffeine, and certainly if you stop, you might experience a withdrawal effect.
Actually, I remember I stayed with a friend years ago and I thought I had the flu because I was all achy and tired and I just went to bed. It turned out all his coffee was decaf, and so I was actually suffering from withdrawals.
Now, fortunately, these symptoms only last a day or two and your body can recover pretty easily with no trouble.
Now, there's a lot of talk about whether coffee is good or bad for you. Maybe it's harmful to your heart and your cardiovascular system, or maybe it's helpful in terms of cancers. Is there any truth to this?
Well, to sum up an enormous body of literature in one word, Dr. Nick, no. Unfortunately, there isn't any evidence to show that caffeine has any positive health effects, and likewise, there's no evidence to show that it has any negative health effects either.
Now, one of the positive effects that people think you can get from coffee is that it might help you sober up when you've been drinking too much.
Well, this isn't really true because the alcohol is still in your system. What people are referring to is that the caffeine can just make you feel more awake. It certainly doesn't make it any safer to drive or do other activity.
So what about things like pregnancy and breastfeeding?
It's a really, really good question. So caffeine does cross the placenta and it can be excreted into breast milk as well, but it's in relatively low quantities. So specialists recommend no more than 2 cups of coffee a day while you're breastfeeding or while you're pregnant, but it is safe.
And it might help keep mum sane. Oh, you look as though you're a bit overdue for your coffee.
I'm sorry, Dr. Nick, it's just my adenosine receptors.
Well, we better go and look after your adenosine receptors then.
Thank you very much, Dr. Nick.
Thank you.